You ever wonder how a simple complaint, about a dangerous street corner actually turns into a brand new stop sign? Well, that whole process, from spotting the problem to finding a solution, it's basically a mini version of how huge national laws get made. So we're going to use a really simple neighborhood story to peel back the curtain on how our government actually works.
And to really get a feel for this, we're not going to start in some stuffy formal government building. Nope, we're going to start with a story. A story that could be happening right now, maybe just a few blocks from where you live.
Okay, so picture this. You've got a busy intersection. On one side, there's a public park, and right nearby, an elementary school. You know the kind of place I'm talking about. It's just buzzing with activity, especially in the mornings and late afternoons. But there's a problem. That road cutting through, it's a pretty major street, and drivers are just flying down it way faster than they should be, especially, you guessed it, right when kids are getting to and from school.
And this is where the tension really ratchets up, right? You've got kids on bikes, parents pushing strollers, everyone's just trying to get across the street, but they're stuck waiting for a break in all this fast-moving traffic. It just feels dangerous, like an accident just waiting to happen.
So what do? I mean, this isn't just some small annoyance. It's a real, genuine safety issue. That journey, from seeing the danger to actually doing something about it, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
The answer has a name. It's called public policy. Now, I know that sounds super formal and complicated, but it's really not. All it is the way a community gets organized to name a problem that affects everyone and then, comes up with a plan to fix it. And here's the good news. There's a roadmap for this whole thing. It's basically a 5-stage process that takes a problem, like our dangerous intersection, and turns it into a real, concrete plan of action. Okay, so what are they? You've got agenda setting, policy formulation, policy adoption, implementation, and finally, policy assessment. Let's walk through each of these steps one by one, using our intersection story to see how it all plays out. All right, first up is agenda setting. And this is so important because literally nothing happens until the problem gets on the official to-do list. It's all about raising your hand and saying, hey, we really need to pay attention to this right here. So in our story, this isn't just some vague complaint like cars go too fast. No, it's a very specific question. How do we make it safer and easier for families to cross the street right at that intersection? Getting that goal crystal clear from the start, that is absolutely key. Okay, so once the problem is officially on the agenda, it's time for stage 2, policy formulation. This is kind of the creative part, the brainstorming stage. We're just throwing all the possible solutions at the wall to see what might stick. At this point, really, no idea is a bad idea.
And you can just imagine the list of ideas, right? You could install a 4-way stop. Or, hey, what about some speed bumps? Maybe we hire a crossing guard. Or we could even put in those flashy speed limit signs. Every single one of these has its own pros and cons to think about. Cost, how well it'll actually work, and what it'll do to traffic.
All right, let's say after all that brainstorming, everyone kind of agrees that the 4-way stop is the best bet. Well, now you hit stage 3, adoption. You can't just go out there and install it yourself, right? The plan needs to get the official green light, probably from someone like the city council. And this is the step where you have to convince the decision makers that your solution is the right one. This is usually where the big debates over budgets and other priorities really happen. So once the plan gets adopted and the money is approved, we get to move on to implementation. This is the action phase. It's where the plan stops being just a piece of paper and becomes reality. I mean, in this case, where the rubber literally meets the road.
And this is what that looks like in our story. A city crew actually shows up, they dig the holes, they install the new stop signs, and they paint some nice, fresh crosswalks. The idea, that abstract plan, is now a real physical change in the neighborhood. You can see it. But hold on, the job isn't done just yet. Now comes what might be the single most important stage of all, assessment. We have to take a step back and ask the really tough question, did our solution actually work? Remember, the whole point was safety, so the questions are pretty direct. Are cars actually slowing down? Do families feel safer crossing the street now? You have to gather some real data, get some feedback from people to know for sure.
An assessment isn't just about the original problem. It's also about looking for unintended consequences. I mean, what if the stop sign totally worked? The corner's way safer, but now it creates a massive traffic jam every single day during rush hour. Well, that's a whole new problem that needs to be solved.
Okay, so now let's zoom out. Because this simple 5-stage process we just walked through for a single street corner, it's the exact same framework they use for the biggest, most complex issues facing the entire country. The only thing that really changes is the scale.
So think about it. On one hand, you have our local issue, making an intersection safer. On the other hand, you have a massive national issue, something like reforming healthcare or tax policy. But the basic questions, they are exactly the same. What's the problem? What are the possible solutions? Which one do we pick? How do we put it into action? And did it actually work?
The big difference, of course, is just the sheer complexity and the amount of time it takes. At a national level, just getting an issue onto the agenda can require a massive social movement. The formulation stage might involve thousands of experts. And implementation, that can affect millions of people and take years, sometimes even decades to fully roll out.
And this brings us to one last really crucial point about how public policy works. It's not a straight line, with a neat little beginning and end. It's really more like a continuous loop.
Think about it. That final assessment stage, it often uncovers new challenges, just like that traffic jam our new stop sign created. And what happens then? Well, that new problem gets put right back on the agenda, and the whole 5-stage process kicks off all over again. It's just this continuous cycle of identifying a problem, solving it, and then refining the solution.
So, the next time you're out and you see a problem in your own community, whether it's a giant pothole, a broken streetlight, or a dangerous intersection, just remember this process. This is the blueprint for how change actually happens. And it always starts with someone deciding to put a problem on the agenda. So, what's the problem you see that's waiting for a solution?